Hey everyone, welcome to Kingdom Builder TV. I remember hearing the music of my guest today for the first time 20 years ago with a song called Open Skies. And since then, he's released many albums full of encouraging and uplifting music that have really been a great tool for ministering within the church and beyond. And I'm excited to have him join us today on Kingdom Builder TV. Huge welcome to David Crowder. Crowder, how are you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Open skies, bro. You're taking me back. We've got history. That's going back there. That
Yes,
guitar,
sir.
that acoustic riff was solid though, bro. That was
Yes.
solid.
I love that whole record. And the first time I saw you in concert was actually it was a one-off concert. It was the very first concert that was played at the then Ford Amphitheater in Tampa, Florida. You played with Mercy Me and Michael W. Smith.
Oh
And
yes.
that was the very first show at that venue. It's now called the Mid-Florida Amphitheater in Tampa, but you had the honor of being the very first artist to play that stage in Tampa.
It's
So
incredible.
I can't believe that was 20 years ago. And I've been doing this show for 16 years now, and when I look back, I found it shocking that I've never had you as a guest on the show. So I'm definitely excited to
I'm
have you come
surprised.
by
I'm surprised
today.
the show's run for 16 years without my presence. It's weird. I
It
can't
is. It
imagine how
is.
you've coped and gotten things rolling. Well, I'll tell you this, that tour might still be my favorite tour ever. We played, I think, maybe three songs. We had about 3 feet of space to set up our whole band, and we played three songs, and our days were consumed with just cooking meat. We had like a grill we had bought at Target, and with charcoal thing just set on the ground, and we just cooked sausages and just meats all day. And if you pass by we called it the tiki tent, a little awning set up. And don't tell the kids this, but we would take and most of the time with permission something from each venue that we played at. So the tiki tent, by the time we were done with the tour, had grown with a lot of memorabilia that we had collected from each venue. So we had something from the Tampa. You say the Ford?
Yeah, it was the Ford Amphitheater. It's the
Okay,
Mid-Florida
yeah.
Credit Union
And we were the
Arena.
first band that ever played there. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I got a chance
we
to
were the
meet you.
inaugural, yeah, like the send off. But yeah, that tour was special, man. We had so much fun, and but yeah, that's really. So we do have history. You heard
Yeah.
three of our
Yeah, and
songs.
and I've got a chance to see you many times over the years, and I'm excited because today you're coming by to talk about a brand new project that comes out May 31st. It's called The Exile, and this is a follow-up to your 2021 record, Milk and Honey. And, so I'm reading that this is the second record in the series of three that you're planning. So take a moment and tell us about The Exile and, the theme and message behind this new record.
Man, well, so regarding this, but I've always done it. All of my albums have come in threes, because that is the contract I signed with the company. So here's what my thought process has always been like: if you're gonna ask me for a commitment and I'm gonna commit to a commitment, then I should know what I'm gonna get into during the commitment period. And so I've always done it in threes. You can look back and they've always come in threes because that's what I've signed for. So this three, and it's really for me to have like boundaries, like a grid of sorts that's loosely defining what I want to say during a period of time. If it's just wide open, I don't even know where to start. But if I kind of have an outline of things I would like to discuss along the way, it helps me to draw some lines and like, here's the box we're going to put this season of life and music into. And so for this one, it was, well, I should back up. My first endeavor with Crowder, the solo artist that I am today, it began with Neon Steeple, American Prodigal, and I Know a Ghost. And that deal, I just knew I wanted to do something Trinitarian. I wanted to do something God, the Son, the Holy Spirit. So God's, like Google Maps, way out. So Neon Steeple, there's a bit of austerity, reverence, something distant. I don't know he's up there, the steeple pointing up, like it's, but Google Maps out version. The Sun, American Prodigal, I thought, that's kind of cool, the Sun and the Sun, and we can discuss something a little more intimate. And then all the Ghost project was just like, hey, also, we know a ghost, which is kind of crazy to discuss. But I had at least an outline. I wanted to do something, of a Trinitarian origin, so that I was talking about the Trinity. I think to try to say something balanced, you need to discuss all the ways and manners that God manifests himself to us. So for this one, though, I was like, we were in the middle of lockdown. If you remember, we couldn't, interact with one another without our bubbles and masks and gloves and whatnot,
Yeah.
Lysol hand in hand. And so I thought, man, this is a great time to maybe discuss the meta narrative of scripture, promise, exile, return. And so we started with promise, which turned into milk and honey. And we did it with at a distance, which I thought, man, what a great moment to get to say things that surely it's going to get better than this, right? Surely there's something on the other side of this nonsense that we're part of. And so now we're at the exile. And man, knowing that I was getting there, this project, writing into this, I thought, oh, I know, I kind of have an idea of what I want to be doing in it. And immediately when I started writing, it got really confusing. These songs that were coming for Exile started really naturally and quickly, and then a song would pop up, and I'd be like, "Well, this doesn't fit at all." And they kept popping up like that. I get a song, I'm like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is going to be amazing." And then the next one, I'd be like, "This doesn't fit at all." And it took me way too long because I've been doing this, way too long and to figure out, oh my goodness, the exile and the return are coming at the same time. And so I've basically written two albums at the same time, but the return songs keep coming. And the exile, I was really wanting to do songs that came out of story, not necessarily singer-songwriter songs, but songs that came out of just conversation and what does it mean to live here and now and you know cultural moments that seem to be like as bleak and difficult as you could script out. Like, could we imagine it would get worse than 2020, or harder? No. But it feels like every day there's something that pops up that you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on in the world? And I wanted songs that really expressed the feeling of that, but we're hopeful that even in exile we can sing out of moments. Like Ezekiel on the banks of the river in Babylon, heaven opens up and he gets to see stuff that is it's just gorgeous. In the middle of exile, so much of exile, Daniel, Ezekiel. I mean, the stories of Esther. She's part of the diaspora who's displaced, the scattering, and then there's the sovereignty and deliverance for God's people, even in a book like that. There's just over and over, God shows that He's faithful even when we're not, and that there is hope, even when we're displaced and feel disoriented. And so it makes sense that songs about that return would happen in the middle of trying to explain what it feels like here and now. So the return is all just church music. It's all just liturgical songs for group singing. And that's why I was saying it was really disorienting when one would pop up and I'm like, whoa, 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 it's not time for that. That's coming later. This doesn't fit on the exile. We're not there yet. And then to for it to dawn on me in the process of creating that, well, of course, songs for us to sing together come in the middle of difficulty. And
Right.
so we have, I mean, in on the other side of exile is return, and literally on the cover you can see that there's the return is backwards, is what's behind the exile font. Um,
Oh, okay.
and so and we're just going to flip the cover and look backwards and it'll be bright and vibrant instead of this green hills with flowers of bloom and the return and that orange that's all in the our rollout of the exile. So in on the other side of exile is return, and I love that the songs are came at the same time. Really, it feels appropriate. So
Yeah,
that's
and
really the meta arc of this little season of my creative life.
yeah, and the one song that the first song that you've dropped from this record is called Dash, and it's a song you collaborated on with tobyMac. And I was listening to this song, I'm like, wow, this is such a profound song with a message that really questions everything about your life. What am I doing with my life? You've got like for this particular song, when I didn't know what it meant at first till I heard it. I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome. Tell us about Dash and about this song and how you came to collaborate with Toby on this one.
Well, as I said, most of these songs on the Exile came out of conversation or stories that we me and my friends were telling each other, I stumbled into this, or over the last few years, I've been really writing with just two dudes that are in Nashville, Ben and Jeff, and they've become really dear friends, and so I'd be on the road, and because I'm making all this stuff while still doing my day-to-day job, which is out there getting to sing songs with people, and so I'd pop back into Nashville, and we'd spend most of the front end of our time catching up on life, and what would happen is we'd tell each other stories about like, Here's what's going on," and for the most part over the last few years they've been really heavy. We get back and just be talking about what, since I last saw you, well, here's what happened, and they were all just crazy or whatnot. But well, one of these days I came back in after I remember sitting, it was over a dinner with Louis and Shelley. Louis Giglio is my pastor. And Shelley, his wife, is my manager. And so they've been dear friends since since I started doing music. Well, I remember him telling me a lot of times he'll just out of conversation, these sermons of his will develop, and so I've been able to be close to some of the impetus of things that have gone wild. And one of those sermons is this Dash sermon, and I remember he was talking about when his dad died, and in that moment, it's just, I mean, I'm speaking it out verbatim pretty much on the song, but he's like, oh my goodness, there's the year he was born, there's the year he's died, and in betweens, and we're all going to be right here. Every one of us is going to have, this is the year we're born, the year you die. Doesn't matter what you write above it or below it, but like here and in between's just this little line. And as soon as it fell out of that I was like, oh my goodness, that is a song right there. And then, man, it was really recently, or during the process of writing for this album, that this sermon, sitting in church, and he just he expounded on that, and it was one of those moments where when you're listening, you're like, I'm not gonna be the same after this is gonna change me. Um, just the contemplation that it brought up in me. And so it was right after that I was back up in Nashville, and I'm like, bro, listen, I've had this idea, but I didn't know how it would fit anywhere and what we've been up to, but it fits great on this Exile deal. And I just basically preached the sermon to him. It was not as eloquent. I'm not an orator by any stretch of the imagination, so it was not quite as eloquent. But we're all like, man, what on earth are we doing? And all of a sudden, there's that line. It's like the same way you're talking, like you're contemplating something that we typically form most of our lives around distraction so that we don't contemplate our mortal state. I'm not the most morbid of humans. I tend to organize distraction really well. And there we're sitting in a room together going, man, what are we doing, bro? And so this song kind of forms in a very pop way. And, and, and I'm like, I wish we could say more. We need to expound on this more. And I had just been out with Toby on the Hits Deep thing for 2 years. We were out with those guys, and man, if there's anybody, first of all, legend. I mean, just a legend, and the best dude ever. He's so fun and so smart, just a gem of a human. But I mean, he's been through it. The loss of a kid.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And to be next to him and see how sturdy, how resilient, how sure that he is in his faith. I was like, this is the guy that could help us. If you got Louis Giglio on your team helping contemplate something so large, man, I would love to hear what Toby could say. And of course, he was kind enough to lend his words. But all of a sudden, you're like, there it is. We have choices to make, and we can decide how we leverage this bit of breath that we have for something bigger than ourselves. And I think he just did an incredible job. And we got it rapping again. My gosh, dude, I, I would not be with my wife today if not for DC Talk and a song called Heaven Bound that I saw a video of her lip syncing to, and I'm like, that's my girl right there. That's my girl lip syncing some tobyMac. I mean, that's her right there doing the Cabbage Patch and stuff. I'm like, man. So if not for Toby, I wouldn't even be, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's it right there. To have him on the track.
Yeah, and Toby's not only versatile as a vocalist, but very much so as like a stage presence. I mean,
Oh,
Toby's gonna be 60 years old this year, and he's still up there dancing, jumping
dude,
around on stage like he's 20.
It's a Benjamin Button situation. I'm thinking
It
he's
is.
like eternal, man. He's outside of time and space or something. I love it.
Yeah, I love this song, and the other song I liked on the record was "Hands of Jesus." It was such a great song, and this whole record, David, is just a great record, and it's what I've come to expect from you over the years. I mean, every time that you release a record, I'm like, wow, how can he top that one? And then you release the next record, I'm like,
Dude.
wow. And this one really challenged me because I'm sitting here listening to the message of this record, and it's really asking me a lot of questions like,
Mm,
hey, do I have my priorities in the right place? Do I have my focus where it needs to be? And I love that. And another song that I liked on the record was in this song I didn't originally hear it from Julie Miller
uh-huh.
or Emmylou Harris, but I remember hearing this on the Jars of Clay record, Good Monsters. It was the song All My Tears, and you did a cover of this song, but not with Julie, but with her husband Buddy.
Mm.
How did that song end up on the record?
Well, I heard it for the first time, a version of Buddy doing it. And I was familiar with the uh Emmy thing, but I wasn't paying attention or something. But when Buddy, it was just a YouTube video of Buddy and a guitar, him and an acoustic on a some club stage, and man, it wrecked me. And I'm like, what in the world? And then it was like, oh, Julie Miller, of course. Like, and then oh, Emily, oh yeah, I know this album. Like, I've heard this record before. But man, it stunned me. And so I tracked down Buddy. And it turned out there was when I was living in Waco, Texas, I wound up on a plane flight. Um, from Dallas to Waco, sitting in the back of a little Saab prop plane, with Buddy and Julie, and they were headed to a funeral, of her brother in Waco, I believe it was. And we really hit it off, and he's a legend of a guitar player. She's just legend in herself. And um, um, somehow when I got connected, he's like, "Oh, I got connected. I hollered at Ricky Skaggs, and I was like, "Hey, man, would you mind hitting up Buddy? I would love to do a song that Julie had written, and I heard a version of Buddy, and gosh, it would be amazing if he could help me realize it." And turns out Buddy remembered all of it and was like, "Oh man, we love Crowder." I was like, "Oh crap, this is awesome! I can't believe it."
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's one of my favorite collaborations ever. Just because that songs that just the high lonesome of that lyric and vocal delivery when Buddy starts singing, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was a that was a miracle of a moment for me, for
It
sure.
was amazing. It was an amazing rendition. Plus, it was really stripped down. It was just basically, the an instrument and a voice, and I loved it. And you know, it, I can't say enough about this record. I'm really excited for people to be able to hear this because it's really great. And my closing question for you is that you've been writing, recording music for nearly 30 years now. Encouraging the church along the way with your songs, and I'm curious as far as legacy goes. So when future generations come across, maybe a David Crowder band record or a Crowder album, or maybe even work that you've done on a passion project, what is it that you want fans, friends, and family to remember you for the most?
Man, I don't think about that much. I really, um, I still can't believe I have this job. I didn't mean to do this. Uh, I tell it all the time, but what I wanted to do was work for my dad. He had an insurance agency. And when you say legacy, it made me immediately think of that it had Crowder Insurance Agency, and I thought he was the coolest dude on the planet. I just wanted to work for him. He had that cool wood paneling in the office with the wallpaper that was like a forest scene behind him. I'm like, this guy, he's had that phone that had the little shoulder deal propped up on. He's giving the car quotes. I'm like, man, this dude is the coolest. And so I just wanted to take over the family practice. And having that nepotistic hookup, I knew that if I just passed an entrance exam, I could study whatever in college. So I went off to study music because I thought it'd be fun. And then this guy was starting a church and was like, "Hey man, would you help with the music?" on the Sunday mornings, and I was like, man, that sounds like a terrible idea, but I'm happy to pitch in because I knew he wouldn't ask me for the casserole on Wednesday because I can't cook. But I like everybody, I think that's part of a church community. You just want to help however you've been constructed and however you can pitch in, and so that's where it started. And before I knew it, we were writing songs, and then we were getting asked to come here or there, and then my wife is like trying to figure out how to get to California and book hotels before there's maps on your phone. And so it's just been sort of a progression where um in her words, she's like, I figured they'd stop calling eventually. This isn't a real job. and and so I've been at it for this amount of time where my dad sold the insurance agency, so I don't have anything to fall back on. I got to make this work. And it really just still feels like I'm trying to pitch in where I'm able, and as long as I'm able to pitch in and help, then that's what I'll keep doing. And it's incredible to see how approaching things from an attitude and a place of, I don't know, my hands are open, put stuff in them, take stuff out. I'm just going to be here. And I think if I had anything on my tombstone, it would probably be above the year and of birth and the year of death and the little line. It would be like, you are here. It just be like the map at the mall, and it's just like little pin dot, just to remind people that you're here right now. This is if you're reading this, you're here, and we got to do something with what we've been given. And I think that would be my hope, is that whoever reads that would be inspired to live for something bigger than themselves. And that's what we're trying to do, is connect people to the story of Jesus. And it's a better way to live. It's a new way to be human. And I think it makes the
Amen.
world better and our neighbors better and ourselves better.
Amen. Well, David, I appreciate you joining me today. Good to finally have you on here. And again, I'm excited about the Exile coming out May 31st. And, I'm just praying that the Lord continues to do big things with not only this record, but just anything and everything that you're gonna be doing in the future, man. So God bless you. Thank you for everything you do, and just keep up the good kingdom work, man.
Man, Jay, appreciate it. That's very kind. And thanks for finally having me on your show. We got the right people to connect us now, I guess. That's awesome.